Hey, Bublynn, coming in, crushing this art. All right, I'm back at it, talking with my man about astrology, right? So I guess first, what we wanted to break down is the elements, right? Because I guess one of the first things that we think about when we think about astrology, I feel like, in my opinion, is the sun, and then the equinoxes, right? Because we're thinking about, man, why are these people, just the people that made up astrology, whoever they may be, why did they split it into 12? Like, it is kind of strange too, because there's 12 notes on the piano, and then I would say there's 12 months in a year, but that means we're just talking about the same thing in a different way, so that'd be dumb. But anyway, so the first thing that I think about, right, is we have the 4, right, because that's just broken down with, oh, there's a time of the year when it's like the maximum heat, right? There's a time of the year when it's like the maximum cold, and then also we have these 2 middle periods, you know what I mean, that are transitioning, but in a certain way to a certain place, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me, the 4, but then the 3, the cardinal, mutable, and fixed, is almost like where did these motherfuckers come up with that? You know what I mean? But anyway, but it does make sense, right? Because I feel like the 3 goes back to spirit, right? Or not spirit, but like the Trinity, spirit, soul, and body, right? So what we have is we have like cardinal, which is pure up in its feelings fire, which I feel like is comes out as like a wait, what? What?
Pure fire?
What am I talking about? Oh yeah, we were talking about the 3. We were talking about cardinality, right? So yeah, because this comes out as trying to create something, right? Trying to bring something into being. So immediately there's the fire energy, or like the air energy, right? But this both comes from yang, you know what I mean? So maybe the concept of cardinal, fixed, and mutable came from like spirit, yang and yin, right? Or balancing and yin. Or you could think about it as yang, yin, and Andromeda, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or like yang, yin, and balance, right? Yeah. Chaos and order, and then the middle path, So maybe we could find a link between that and the cardinal, fixed, and mutable, but hold on, I don't know. Because I feel like cardinal, makes sense to when you're just trying to bring something into being. This is fire, like this is yang, I feel like. And then fixed, sticking with the past, definitely seems yin to me. And then transitory or in between, I feel like, to me, that does put earth and air, I feel like, or like balance in a way. Because it's like pure fire, right? Pure yang is like, it's just trying to bring new things into being. It's not in the past, like, versus like yang needs to be the executioner, or like, not like it's going to execute, but like it is going to execute, like it's going to be the one doing, you know what I mean? It's got to be the doer. And then so yin is got to be the receiver, like it's going to be receptive, but it's going to hold the shape of that. So it's like, to me, the cardinal is going to be the doer, and the fixed is going to hold the shape of that. But then the middle, the balance, like, who may be able to touch it up here and branch more off on the fire, because like pure yang, once it creates an idea or has a new sort of outlook, right, it's not going to stick with it because it's had it. Like, there's no reason to stick with that. Like, it's like fire is a flame and then it's like gone, right? It's an experience that you have and then it's like moving on. Whereas earth is like a solid structure, just like air, like climate, you know what I mean? These are things that we just like inhabit, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Versus like, even to us, we describe water as sublevel. Like, we describe water as the part that we don't inhabit, but we almost live through, you know what I mean? So anyway, but yeah, because I feel like our being, like our body is within like earth and air, astrologically wise, you know what I mean? And then like outside of us, or like more like outside and inside, or like deep within, but which comes to look like without and like everywhere, you know what I mean? And then deep without, or like far without, which comes to look like the same thing. I don't know how to explain too well, but anyway, that'd be like pure yang and pure yin, you know what I mean? Like deep without, like deep going, you know what I mean? A pure yin would be pure reception, pure just looking in, you know what I mean? And then we have the mutable, which would be like our realm, like earth and air. Yeah, because basically, so now I feel like if we go more into breaking down the elements, so we don't, I can't give anybody, I feel like, a solid explanation about, which is something I'm still looking into, right? Why the 3 is within the zodiac, like there's the 4 seasons, right? And then it splits it up into cardinal, mutable, and fixed. I feel like even to me, this is something that I'm interested in. So if anybody has like any insights, like hit me up, you know. But I do feel like that's a little bit about kind of how I would see cardinal, mutable, or cardinal, fixed, and mutable, right? So it's like we have cardinal, the initiator, the bringing into being, like the fire and air, right? And then we have fixed, the holding, the water and earth, right? And then we have mutable, which is just the ones that can do a little bit of both, like fire can say no to things like, or earth can say no to things like fire, but it still will hold the shape like water, right? And air will like stick with something and like generate from that, versus fire is just going to want to generate a new thing, right? So it's like air is just going to want to generate a new thing too, but it will like gladly stick with it and fall in love with it and like, you know, stabilize with that, you know what I mean? Like form a relationship with it. Whereas fire won't. And then, yeah, like we talked about, water is going to hold shape, but it's not going to say no and it's not going to be selective. Whereas earth is its shape, and then it will be like, nah, motherfucker, you know? So they're like kind of the balance, you know? Versus like pure yin and pure yang. So yeah. So now, if we talk a little bit about the elements, right? Like we were talking about. So kind of the way that I view the elements goes into, if you remember, to the tree of life. You know what I mean? Right. Is how I kind of view these spots as the 4 elements, right? And then we have like water, which even connects to the like high priestess, if you know anything about the tree of life. In my opinion, that would be water. And then that would even like, if that would be like the connection and the unseen, it would still be connected with reception, you know what I mean? Which I think water deeply is, you know what I mean? Because you have to be like, in order to create something somewhere, like you have to work through what is. You have to do it in the most yin way, right? Like when we're like, if you think about birth, it's not like you just were like, I was a fucking tree and then I walked out of that motherfucker, you know? Like you had to like be like hatched, like legitimately, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's an environment that's pure like you didn't have time to fend for yourself, like it was pure yin, right? Like because you had no say, you were not playing the executioner's role, like you're being received, you're vulnerable, right? You can't say no. So yeah, it's like first you're not like, the only thing you're making happen is internal, right? So this means externally you're yin, right? Even though internally you have a lot of creation and execution going on, it's not on the 3D level yet. It's still like 2D. It's still like you haven't seen the relationship yet. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, if we go back, we were talking about the elements, and then I was talking about the tree of life, and then how water, yeah. So water would be like that reception, like when you're purely vulnerable and stuff like that, that connects to water, but that also connects to like how things develop and how things grow, right? Like water is going to be the place where a spirit has developed enough substance or enough like pattern, enough literally frequency, right? To where they can focus on that frequency and it will become like a wave, you know what I mean? Water, you know, a frequency, a wave. You have enough of that, and then it's like you have a pattern, right? And then we go into the formation of air and earth at like after that spirit starts to actually develop some sort of frequency through like trial and error and like just pure execution, like the fool type energy, you know what I mean? But or like based on the patterns that it has, like, you know, a spirit could definitely be like lost in something, I feel like, and be like really caught in this wave to where like each time it executes something, it's going to be on this pattern, right? But then it's learning about that pattern, and then, you know what I mean, it'd be riding that wave. So right, yeah. And it would like, it just depends, you know, on like I don't know, but that's just how that would play out. That's just how kind of water would play out in the tree of life, I feel like. So water would be this invisible orb right here, which, so I associate Pluto with the top, Neptune with right here. Saturn with right here, and Uranus right here, right? So that's that. But then, how like I kind of branch out like the yang and the yin, right? Because we talked about the pair right here with yang and yin. So I feel like how this plays out astrologically is that Pluto rules fire, but it doesn't just rule fire; it rules yang. You know what I mean? So that's pure just getting caught in it, execution, selfishness, death and rebirth, right? Like all these things are like transformation, like but in like a like a new transformation. Like it's not like you were focusing on something old and then it brought you to a like foreseeable place. Like pure yang is like pulling you under the water and showing you a new world, and then you like trying to adapt to it and swim. Like I feel like pure yang, the fool, is like here. Like I could open this deck too. Is like thrown to the wolves, you know. To where it's like that's kind of what you're doing. I feel like what you can think about Pluto is like you have this spirit and you have this consciousness, like you're able to dream, right? So you just start fucking dreaming, you know what I mean? You have the best dreams and you have the worst dreams, but it's like you're just in it, you know what I mean? But you're just like lost in it. It's like throwing your spirit to the wolves so that you can learn in a way, because you don't know what you're gonna find. It's like that innocent type of energy too, you know what I mean? Yeah. But here, see, look here for the camera. Like, at least in my card deck, this motherfucker is just, like, walking, head behind his back, into chaos, right? And he's just, like, letting it go. Because you could see this, like, as me and you talked about, right? This could be two sides of him, which is my perspective, of, like, he has this water side, and he has this tiger side, right? He's walking with it, and he's just unleashing his power. Or, like, also, right, he's just walking into that. And either way, he would be, because if you have all this power, and it's like, be careful what you wish for type of energy, then it's like you get caught in the first thing you want. It's like, oh, fuck, now you're living out a nightmare, like you're living out something that you haven't thought through, right? You didn't sit with long enough to see the repercussions, you know? Or, yeah, like you said, like, it would even be the same shit, like, you're just head behind your back, like, be careful where your mind's at, you know what I mean? Like watch out where you're going. But either way, so that would be Pluto. So yeah, with all that, right, we have that like watch out where you're going energy. You start to develop waves, like a certain meditation, like a certain frequency off of that, right, of like where you're gonna be. But it's almost like a sea, I feel like, because I don't feel like you can think about it as us being a frequency, but it's almost like DNA, right? How like you have this whole spectrum, right? And then it's like down here it's gonna say some shit in like the lower denser part, and then up here in like the higher part it's gonna like say other shit, you know what I mean? But it's more like that, to where like you can think about Neptune as like almost like DNA like that, to where it's like this vast space, right? But it's like, and there's all these different frequencies. Like I feel like there's almost you find yourself in lanes, right, which is based on experience, and that's based on those lanes, you're developing frequency in that pocket, and then like, but it becomes this sort of like sea, like there's all these different things going on and dynamically working with each other, of like things that you're currently holding up and like vibing with, you know what I mean? Like what waters you're lost in a way. So which is why Neptune too would associate a lot with dreams, illusion, fantasies, right? Because where would these things be coming from is like where you deeply resonate with, you know what I mean? And that would be Neptune's connection with Jupiter too, which is like a sort of water yin side of Mars, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's more like the why versus the how, right? In a way, I feel like. Because mutable isn't like how you do your dream. Mutable is how you learn, and then that teaches you how to do your dream. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's why it's kind of like Jupiter, I feel like, plays out as a sort of funnel or like a transmitter, whereas like Mars plays out as the like, Mars plays out as the transmitter and Jupiter plays out as the receiver, right? Yeah. Which is where I feel like that plays out, because Aries is the go-getter, Scorpio is the memory you're focused on, which is like why you're going to that, right? And then Jupiter is the situations you got caught up in that like let your eyes gaze in that, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or it's like Yeah, it's like taking in all that at the end of the day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the pure Aries part of you is just thinking about what you can do next. But, like, it's almost like where that's coming from, Jupiter is like this whole, like, battery, this almost like water. But it's still very, like, I don't know. I feel like, because it's almost like Jupiter is fire and water, but it's like the balance, because the other fire and water is Mars, but that's like the yang. So it's not like Jupiter is, I guess, like the balance, but it's almost like the receiver, like I said, and it also rules the two mutables. So it's like, I feel like, because it's like Pisces is the type of energy where you're like caught up in the dream, you know what I mean? And then Sagittarius is the type of energy where you're like, running or like executing the dream, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, and then so verse, like we talked about Mars, which would be like it wouldn't be like lost in it. Mars would be like bringing down, like it would be the yang side of Jupiter. So it's like with all these experiences you've had to be bringing down what you want to experience, right? Yeah. It's almost like Jupiter is more north node or more like uncomfortable energy, right? More experience, because it's like Jupiter is going to get you kind of like curious cat into these situations where you're going to learn something you might not have wanted to learn, right? Yeah. And so now, like, that's going to kind of be with you, right? It's almost like, it's like, yeah. So yeah, that's why I feel like it attaches to the moon, it attaches to like re-energy, it attaches to things like that. But anyway. So if we go back to the elements then, right? We'll try to just break down the elements and then just cut out this video, I guess, as another elemental talk. And then we'll like keep going further into it, if you're down. Yeah. Okay, so then we had Pluto ruling fire, like Pure the Fool, and then we had Neptune ruling water, being like a tether, right? So then, I guess what we need to think about is their relationship. So we might have to just stick with fire and water for this video. Because they were like 17 minutes, I want to keep it at 20 maybe. Okay?
Deal.
Alright, so pure fire, right? Like I was talking about, it's like thrown to the wolves type energy, right? Whereas like pure water is similar, right? That's why people are like, if you've ever heard about like yang and yin, it's like you have like chaos and structure, chaos and order, right? But it's like at the same time, it's like if everything's ordered and stagnant, like there's nothing happening, right? And like that's not how we live, you know what I mean? So it's like even that is like soul crushing, you know what I mean? It's like death, right? And then so is pure yang. If nothing's stable, if nothing new has any sort of weight or substantiality, then it's just like death, like you're just constantly dying, you know what I mean? Yeah. So then once you get to the balance, that's where it's like you can finally live a life, right? You don't just have life to where it's just like there's so much that you can't experience it, right? And you don't just have death to where like you never switch things up, you know what I mean? You have like this sort of cyclical sort of situation going on, you know what I mean? This sort of back and forth, this yin and yang, this to and fro, this rhythm and flow, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, so if we talk about that relationship, how that would play out, is like, this would be very tense, you know what I mean? This is called sparks. This would be like, I don't know a good way to explain it, but it's like if you think about them, like having steaming hot water, right? And then you like pour a like bucket of ice into it. You're gonna hear like it's gonna be like breaking and shit. So it's gonna be cracking and popping. You know what I mean? Even if the water is not boiling yet, if you have that friction, it's like, you know what I mean? Like there's no getting around that sound. There's no getting around that tense, that release or like mix, you know what I mean? Like that sex causes like friction, you know what I mean? It causes pops and shit, you know what I mean? It causes breaks and all sorts of shit, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so the thing about it is yang and yin in themselves are very pure, and this purity is something that makes them like harmful, right? Because if you think about pH, if you think about something with the highest pH, it's gonna fucking kill you. If you think about something with the lowest pH, it's gonna fucking kill you, right? If you're not careful. Right. But it's like, where do you find Where do you find the center? It's like in your fucking body. It's the middle. It's the 7, and it's like water. You know, like what we drink. So it's like, man, shit's nuts. But anyway, so we'll get more into that relationship between the fire and the water and the crackling and the popping in the next episode.
Thank you.
All right, so that's Bublynn, Sitra, Beach. Thanks for tuning in.